2024 is shaping up to be an interesting year for PlayStation fans. It's been a weird time. The PS5 is selling outstandingly well, and Spider-Man 2 just came out and was praised for how good it is. Things from a certain angle look great, but then there are the other things. There have been price increases of games and PS Plus. There have been the laying off of many PlayStation developers. There's been this big pivot towards live service, and then a changing of the minds, which has led to the straight-up cancellation of games like The Last of Us Online and Insomniac's Secret Multiplayer. And if you look ahead, we don't really even have a lot of announced games to even look forward to justify why we have this PlayStation 5 console. For fans, the future hasn't looked great, but we do have a picture of what 2024 is shaping up to look like, and we do have a good number of games that we know we can expect. Dr. Pooplove here, and let's talk about it. But first, I want to give a special thank you to my YouTube members who have joined the Bowel Movement. I'm very grateful for your support. Let's get right into it. So where we should start is with the first PlayStation Studios game coming out this year, and that is a remaster of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2. This version is adding DualSense support and a few new modes for a $10 upgrade. In particular, the no return roguelike mode seems to be the main selling point, as well, The Last of Us Part 2 is already beautiful and it can't really be improved that much. If I am being honest though, this is actually kind of disappointing given the recent news of The Last of Us Online being canceled. Because, well, I think they should have put more effort into this remastered then, and put in at least some of the multiplayer that they had developed into some sort of a small mode that could have kept the Factions fans happy. This remaster didn't need to come out this early in 2024. No one was really expecting that. And it only really needs to come out before The Last of Us Season 2, which is coming out in 2025, in order to have that sales synergy. So they could have delayed it to kind of keep the fans happy. And it's funny, given God of War Ragnarok's Valhalla roguelike, which came out for free just at the end of 2023, that also kind of undercuts this remaster a little bit. But regardless, we can expect to get this game on January 19th. Moving on, we have perhaps the MVP of this year, which is PlayStation's XDev. This is a team that helps put out external projects that still come exclusively to PlayStation and are often labeled under the PlayStation Studios banner. These aren't the main developers on these games, but they do help out. And this year we're getting Stellar Blade, which is supposed to come out sometime in 2024. It's primarily developed by Shift Up. We're also getting Rise of the Ronin on March 22nd. It's primarily developed by Team Ninja. Now, we don't know the release date for this yet, but it's possible that we also get Death Stranding 2 this year, which would be primarily developed by Kojima Productions. We have only received an announcement on this game though, and so we don't actually know when it's planned to be released, but it has been 5 years since the original Death Stranding, so hopefully it will be soon. Now, moving on, let's talk about PlayStation's live service lineup coming out this year. After announcing 12 live service games by 2026, they have since shaved that number down to 6, including the unceremonious elimination of The Last of Us Online, which otherwise may have been on this list for coming out in 2024. But we do know that Helldivers 2 is coming out on February 8th, and this looks like a very engaging, tactical third-person shooter, something that Factions 2 could have been. I'm not bitter, okay? I'm not. Okay, I am. But seriously, I am excited for Helldivers 2. It looks like a lot of fun and strategy involved. It is developed by Arrowhead Studios, which is not owned by PlayStation, but PlayStation is the publisher here, so it's a second-party game. And if the game does reach a level of success, it's possible that Arrowhead gets acquired. Next up, we have MLB The Show 24, which is supposed to be out in March 2024. The highly anticipated follow-up to MLB The Show 2023. It's going to be boring. Okay, moving on. We know Bungie is not actually a PlayStation studio, but they actually might be considered soon because apparently they have within their acquisition agreement a requirement to hit certain financial milestones in order to stay semi-independent. And they recently have had a lot of internal strife with layoffs and missing revenue targets and, well, killing my hopes and dreams in The Last of Us Online. Okay, sorry. This just happened. I'm still in mourning about it, okay? Give me a little break. Okay, anyways, a lot is riding on Bungie's big update for Destiny 2, which is called the Final Shape, and it's supposed to mark the end of the 10-year Destiny plan. This update is coming out June 4th, and supposedly it's going to be like the Taken King and the Witch Queen, which are highly regarded expansions, instead of something like Lightfall, which wasn't so popular. I was honestly obsessed with the Taken King when that came out, but I'm too far behind to actually catch up and play this. But I'm happy for Destiny fans to hopefully get a satisfying conclusion. Sticking with Bungie, it appears Marathon was slated for 2024, but actually we've heard that it got delayed to 2025, and those rumors are likely true, so I wouldn't expect it this year, but maybe we'll get more announcements and details. Then of course there is Firewalk's Concord, which has actually been dated for 2024 in their teaser announcement trailer, as well as a recent PlayStation blog post. This game might slip to 2025, but this seems to be PlayStation's only internal studio release this year, which, well, we'll discuss more on that later, but I imagine they will really want to get something out this year, so I'm fairly confident this will come out. This is supposed to be a PvP first-person shooter, and it's perhaps Sony's response to Call of Duty. We shall see how true that is, but it's not really a game I'm personally interested in, and it's not the typical PlayStation game that many fans are expecting, so it'll be interesting to see how this one is received. Now, we also have the possibility of seeing Fair Games this year by Haven, but that was never actually dated, so I don't know. At this point, it does feel like there's maybe too many live service games coming out in 2024, so maybe they'll push it to 2025, if it was even supposed to come out this year. Now, before I talk about single player games, which I know a lot of people are waiting to discuss, I should mention that there are probably a few PC ports this year as well. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered does seem like a safe bet, given that the TV show is coming out in early 2025 and that synergy. And Horizon Forbidden West is supposedly supposed to come to PC in 2024 as well. Other than that, potentially God of War Ragnarok will come, as that came out the same year as Horizon Forbidden West. Okay, so let's talk about the single player games coming from PlayStation's own internal studios in 2024. And right now there are none. The only announced single-player game that we know about is Wolverine, but Insomniac recently got hacked, and it was revealed that they're shooting for a 2026 release for that game. And if you've seen any of the leaked footage, which I of course will not be showing, it does look like it still needs more time, but it looks fun. So does this all mean that there won't be a single-player game to come out this year? Well, maybe, but not necessarily, because Sony has adopted this new marketing strategy lately. And if you notice, they only really like to talk about releases when they're less than a year away from coming out. So assuming that we do get some showcase early on in 2024, that is where we could get an announcement for a game that's actually coming out later in the year. But what could that game be? Well, Ghost of Tsushima by Sucker Punch could be it, as it's been a few years since we got the first one, so they could be ready. Sony Bend seemed promising, but recent rumors suggest that their new IP is coming out in 2025. Blue Point could be the one. They are working on a new project, and it's been a while since Demon's Souls remake. Maybe Team Asobi with an Astrobot game. There's also a rumored Uncharted game in the works at the Visual Arts Service Group with some Naughty Dog help. It's possible that that has been coming together nicely, especially hoping they don't reinvent the wheel too much, but there have been layoffs at Visual Arts, so maybe it's in development hell. Speaking of Naughty Dog though, well, it may sound crazy, but they have been working on a single player ever since The Last of Us Part 2 wrapped up in 2020, and they have grown their studio significantly. Many assume that they were all hands on deck for the multiplayer, but I highly doubt they were actually putting much priority into that. And well, at least now that the multiplayer is canceled, that entire multiplayer team can help speed up that single player. My suspicion is they are probably farther along on a single player game than we think, and my gut check guess would be that it is a new IP. But the likelihood that it would come out in 2024, I think, is still pretty low. Fire Sprite, they might actually be ready with that rumored Twisted Metal reboot. So that's a possibility, although that might actually be a live service game, so might not really belong in the single player section. Other than that, though, well, my best guess would be maybe we get another remake or remaster. Perhaps this is where we might hear from Guerrilla Games or Sony Santa Monica with that perhaps Horizon Zero Dawn remaster that we were hearing about, and recent rumors suggesting a God of War trilogy remaster. Of course, that wouldn't be the most exciting thing, and there probably would be some backlash if the only single player things coming out were remasters this year, but we shall see. At least maybe, just maybe, there will be a showcase of some sort, which at least peels the curtain back a little bit further and announces a little bit more about what we can expect. Because we do know that all these studios are hard at work, but we just haven't seen the fruits of any of that labor, and we don't really know what to expect. I do think ultimately it's probably going to be a rather light year for at least the single player PlayStation fans who will have to rely on these second and third party entries for this year, or just catching up on the 2023 backlog. It was a pretty big year in 2023. So, I mean, at least for me, I have plenty of games to catch up on. But what do you think that 2024 looks like for PlayStation? Let me know in the comments. And thank you again to the YouTube members who are making these videos possible by joining the Bowel Movement. And for a look at all the games that PlayStation Studios are developing in 2024, you should check this video out. But otherwise, so long, Pooper Troopers.